Pumpkin has just wandered in. He punched open the door and said, I'm coming in. Pumpkin wants to learn about Node.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, this is Pumpkin. Say hello, Pumpkin.
Hello.
Yes. Oh, cat activation noise there. Yes. Brilliant. Lots of people here wanting to learn Node. Amazing. I want to learn what is Node, first of all. So that would be good. Yeah. Welcome back to all the people I already know. I think I've seen this one before. And this one? Honey, Tom, Robert. Yes, many others as well. We have Param, Marta, Jessica, and many others. Oh, wow.
And many others.
There really are many. Here, we do a thing where we, if you're new here, that's hidden. Hi, Pumpkin. Please put a bunny rabbit in the chat. And if you've been before, hit me with that tiger. We don't do anything with this information. It's just for fun. Yeah. And if you don't know who we are or what we're talking about, we are from Scrimba. This is Scrimba right here. Oh, yeah. This is Scrimba right here. You can come here and learn to code. And we have loads of courses you can take about loads of front-end topics. Yes. And next year, we are hoping to move into backend as well. But for now, we're sticking to YouTube. And that is what Michael is here for today. Do you want to start by telling them a bit about what you do, where you're from, hobbies?
Well, I'm Leon's husband, and I generally just do bits and bobs around Scrimba. Yeah, I help out people in the community and stuff. But my day job is I am kind of a backend developer, although I do a little bit of bits on the front end. So yeah, write some React code from time to time. But mainly, I write backend code. Backend code like deployments and stuff like that. So, AWS, GCP. So a little bit of DevOps. But mainly, my bread and butter, I would consider myself a backend developer.
I always know when he's doing some front end because I hear, WTF from the next room.
It's
and
mostly
a lot
CSS.
Of sighing.
Yeah, it's mostly CSS.
Yes. Luckily, you're here today not for CSS, but for Node. I have prepared a few questions, but I think you've got a kind of lesson of sorts planned.
Yeah, we've got a very tight schedule. Lots of stuff, lots of ground to cover. But let's
get on it. Yes.
Yeah.
And welcome to the bunny rabbits among you. And welcome back to the tigers. If you have a question about Node, feel free to drop it in the chat. My first question then is, what is Node?
So Node is JavaScript runtime. Runtime, think of runtime, it's like area where your code runs. Yeah. So there are two runtime. Well, there are many runtimes, but the main two is V8 or like browser runtime, like your Chromium, like Chrome, Brave, and so on. A lot of other browsers. So JavaScript runs in the browser, or it runs in Node. So these are basically the two types, and Node is just like an alternative to run in the browser. So when you open your console, your JavaScript runs in the console, and that's browser runtime. But when you type in the command line on your PC or your MacBook, that's your running to Node.
Got it. I think Jesus. Oh, Jesus Junkie actually likes your Azure t-shirt.
Thank you.
Is that Michael's sweater, Leanne? Well, technically it's my sweater, but we won't get into that. Oh, another bunny rabbit.
Yeah, I've got the same one but white, but I do wear this one from time to time.
Yes.
That's right.
Can you guys provide us with a timeline? We don't exactly know, but we hope in the first half next.
Yeah, that's why in the meantime we're kind of making these making these kind of streams, and there'll be more about the backend in general, just because there is demand, but we can't really make them on Scrimba just yet. So
we need to build the tech first.
So we'll scratch your itch via YouTube.
What are use cases for Node?
Well, basically, if you want the code to run anywhere but the browser, it will run in Node. So if you want to run your code on a Raspberry Pi, on a laptop, well, Raspberry Pi mainly, that's like, if you want JavaScript to run in your fridge, or you want to run it,
Who doesn't?
yeah, like a traffic light camera or something, it's like you can, that's what Node will hopefully allow you to do.
Really? So
Yeah.
you can set up smart plugs in our house, so I don't worry about leaving the iron on.
Yeah. Although I don't know how smart plugs work, but if they support Node as runtime, then yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Question: how safe is Node.js?
Safe enough, I guess. I mean,
Wow, that fills me with confidence.
yeah, I mean, safety, most of the time, safety is like, things are safe until they're not safe anymore. People always, there are always some bugs. Even the most secure platforms, all of a sudden people find there are some bugs in it, or they're called 0 days, where hackers have found a way to kind of get into the system, but at the same time, developers don't know about it yet. But it's already exploitable, so they have to fix it. So they have 0 days to fix something.
Yikes, that sounds stressful.
So yeah, it's it all depends on the use case. Like if it were me, I probably wouldn't put JavaScript into something like, I don't know, some kind of medical devices and stuff. But I don't really know about that industry well enough to actually say. So yeah, I think it's, for most applications, it's perfectly safe.
Sounds good. Is Node a subject we have to learn after front end?
You can. You don't have to. So most people kind of learn Node because you learn front end and then you want to do backend, and Node is a way to write backend code in JavaScript. So people just kind of move over from learning front end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then they learn how to write JavaScript for backend, like how to save data in SQL and so on. And normally that's where people stick, but ultimately you can learn Python to do that. You can learn C#, you can learn Java, you can learn anything.
Okay, Daniel's loving the streams. Yes, we are going to make a Node course next year.
Yeah.
Oh, when I'm installing packages and get vulnerabilities detected, should I always type npm audit fix, or just ignore them?
Yeah, don't ignore when they say vulnerabilities, especially when they say critical vulnerabilities. Don't ignore those. You can actually click on the link provided, and it will take you to the page. It's called CVE. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like a description of how people found this bug and why it's bad that you have it. Sometimes they're actually not that bad. It depends where you have it. Like, I think Dan Abramov wrote a tweet about how a lot of the time that you see in Create React app, it's actually not really a vulnerability. You won't really suffer if you have it. But I would say update it, because I'm a bit of a pedant. I don't like seeing vulnerabilities. So I try to keep all the projects updated.
And then several people are asking, how is Node different from Express?
Cool. Yeah. So Node is runtime, and Express is a framework that is geared to create. I think it's called HTTP framework. So basically, to create backend applications, you can either write like from scratch your HTTP requests and so on, or you can just grab a framework like Express, and it basically tells you what to do. Like you have your methods and stuff, and it abstracts quite a few things from you, so it's a little bit easier to use. So, but whatever you write in Express, you can spend a little bit more time and write it in just pure JavaScript using Node. But at the same time, like why spend your time unless you're interested in how it's done underneath the hood?
Yep. Does Node have an eloquent layer like Laravel?
I'm not entirely sure. Well, I'm not familiar with Laravel, so I don't know what eloquent layer means in it. So yeah, feel free to provide a few more details, and then I'll let you know.
So the answer to that is
I don't know what Laravel, like I've seen Laravel and I know what it does. I know it's like a PHP backend framework, but I don't know it well enough to comment on the features.
Is Deno another node, or is it its own thing?
Deno, it's kind of the other way around. Like, well, the person who created Node, he then said, I've made a few mistakes, I've learned from them, and I have created Deno. or Deno. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. In any case,
kind of a debate on that probably.
yeah, there is probably a debate. But Deno, it's TypeScript based. It's quite neat. Yeah, kind of like as soon as it came out, people were saying like Node is dead and stuff like that. But it looks like.
But here we are, still with Node.
Yeah.
Can I use Node to manipulate system files like editing text files with Python?
Yes.
Okay, good news. Maybe we're going to see that later. When would you use Node and when Java? Any examples?
Whenever you use Java, you can use Node, and vice versa. Like if it's for a backend code,
So it's kind of
it's kind of like to kind of put it in perspective, it's like asking, when would you use Honda instead of BMW? It's up to you. Like what brand, what kind of driving you prefer, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, so keep the wonderful questions coming. And now we'll move on to this. How do I set up Node?
Cool. Yeah. So actually, for this stream, let me just quickly grab and yep, I'm taking over the stream.
Oh wow.
Oh no. So how do I? There is. I have created this little repo over here. So this was like about Node stream, and basically you will have some prerequisites like how to install Node. For this one, we'll also need to install Postgres, but I'll show it in a bit. So how can you install Node? Well, you just go to the official website over here, and whatever system you're using, Windows, Mac, or maybe you on Linux or whatever. So basically, yeah, find it, click on it, download it, install it, done. It's there.
Oh, that sounds easy.
Yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. And then whoops, again, I wasn't sharing the screen. Whoops. Anyway, there you go.
Here it is, Node.js.org.
Yeah, Node.js.org, and download. But if you just Google download Node.js, it'll take you there. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you install it, you would just say Node version, and it should output something there. There you go. And that will confirm that you have it installed. I have mentioned that. Where is this tree? There we go, comments. There we go. In the comments, here's the link to that repository. So you can have a look. And basically you'll have prerequisites for Node. And then looks like other links. So basically for this stream, if you want to follow along, but I would suggest that you follow along after the stream, try to recreate it yourself. But in the meantime, I've got right at the end of prerequisites, you basically type in a couple of things to double check that you've got installed. And I have like PSQL is Postgres. So there you go. Postgres is also installed in this on Leanne's machine. So
why is Postgres?
Postgres is a relational database, basically SQL. If there is like MySQL, there is whatever they call it from Microsoft, SQL Server, I think it's called. And so on. But Postgres is like Postgres and MySQL are like the two most popular ones. And yeah, we'll just go with Postgres because I use it at work, and it doesn't take any time for me to switch off. But if you use MySQL, it should be pretty similar.
Yeah. Daniel's asking, can you click this? When should you choose between Node and Django?
So Django is kind of a full framework. You have, it's like MVC. Well, although in Python it's called something else, but it's MVC, like model view controller, while Node is just the runtime, right? So it's like Python is a language, also has a Python runtime. So the question is more like, when do I use Express over Django? And Express is just mostly backend. You can add view engines to it, like Pug, Mustache, and so on. So think of it that way. It's like Django. Yeah, Django in Python, it's like Express plus view engine together. But the beauty of Node is that, when we say Node, we usually mean Express, really, as a backend framework. But the beauty of Express is that you just write backend code and you don't have to add anything to make it work with the front end. So people kind of generally couple it with React on the front end, and that makes requests to your Express application. And your Express application is just an HTTP API, and that's it.
Okay, so we can now move on. Well, maybe you just want to
We'll
take it away?
Yeah, we'll
Is that
just
the
take it
best
away.
thing to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Hit us up.
So, yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
those questions coming.
Keep the mouse closer. Okay, cool. So, sure. In that case, let us just very quickly start with, I've got this node stream
Folder.
folder, yeah. And then I'll just open VS Code in that folder. And maybe I'll just kind of open it up a little bit like that. Although that is not, oh, actually, if I just minimize it like this, I should be just fine, right?
Yep.
Cool.
So,
So we will start with completely empty folder and the rest of it, and I'll just drag this over so it doesn't bother. And there we go. So the first thing we'll need to do is you'll need to set up our initial project. So init.y. So I'll create this package.json file, and as you can see, it will be like just a couple of bits, like name of the package and so on. So what we'll do, we need to install Express. So npm I Express, and we'll need to install SQL driver for later, but it's got PG, Postgres. So we'll just do that. And then from there, once we installed it, you can see that we already have node modules and we already have package.json. So what we need to do is we'll just create index.js. That's, or you can call it app.js, you can call it server.js. You know, people call it different things, but your main file, basically. And from there, you'll have const express. You basically import Express. And then you can say const app equals Express. You basically call it. So you call the framework, and it will create you like an instance of your application. Then you would say const. We also want to listen. So when the application starts, we want to say, can you please do it on this particular port on our machine?
Does it matter which one you do?
I mean, like, as long as they're not under something like 1,000, because they're like system reserved. So normally people go for like 3,000 or 8080. You know, these are like I mean, it could be 4,000, 5,000, and so on. So pick yours. But yeah, it should be. And then we'll just very straightforwardly go app.listen. So basically say, listen to this port that we've just provided above. And then you can see that it needs to give it a callback. So as soon as it starts up and it's successful, I'll just say, you know, we are. This is kind of a bit of boilerplate because most apps say that. So we will listen on port, and then we just say port. Yeah.
Right.
So we just listen on that port, and then when we do that, all you need to do now, you just say to start the application, you say node. Oh, actually, maybe I can just do it inside of this terminal. There we go. So I'll just say node, and I just give it index.js. Okay, and there we go. So it says listening on port 3000.
Oh yeah.
So I hope that's someone. Oops. So it says 2121. Yeah, you can choose that port if you want, or 2021.
There's a couple of people there, Mohammed and Daniel, asking, how much JavaScript do you need to know to start doing Node?
Well, kind of like as soon as you know functions, you can probably go from, well, functions and like promises, API. So if you finished, was it module 7 API in front-end career path?
I think so.
Then you're probably kind of ready to, you can dive in. Yeah, you will need to learn like HTTP and stuff, but there are quite a few really good blog articles on the subject. So yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
So now we've got our Node app, I guess, working.
Yeah, you have that Node app working, but it's a little bit boring just to have a Node app. It just listens on the port, right? So
not the most useful app.
Yeah, it doesn't really do it doesn't really do much. So what you can do is you can then say app. So if you're familiar with like interacting with APIs, you normally do it through HTTP verbs. So like get, post, put, patch, delete, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So normally you expose endpoints, and you expose them with particular verbs, HTTP verbs. So what you say is, you can say HTTP, so app.get. So that means that this application will listen for GET requests. And the first route is you give it a route, so where. And we'll say on the route, we'll listen to that. We'll also, as soon as you call localhost 3000, and you just localhost 3000, we'll output something. But
what are we going to output?
Well, I'll explain this. I'll explain this bit in a second, but we're not going to use it for now. So, but what we're going to output is, we'll just say response send, and like, I don't know, hello the stream.
Right.
Or actually, let's just say hello peeps, because that's what people are called in the Scrimba community. So whoever's watching, there you go. Let's say hello peeps. There you go. You can also see that. Okay, so now let's just reload our app. Listening on port. If I start a new terminal, I'll just use curl for now.
Curl.
So I'll just say localhost 3000, and there you go. And I got the response back. Hello peeps. Cool. Awesome. So as a promise, we will come back to this. So in kind of when you're using app.get, Express allows you to, the first one is the where you are calling. And then the second argument after the comma is a callback that kind of like, it's a bit of Express magic that you have the request that you are sending available here, and the response is the second argument. So you're saying that whenever you want to respond to a particular Express call, you will say response, send, and then you can provide whatever you want to provide. So in this particular case, it's a string. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we are saying just, respond with this particular string. So whenever I call, you can see here, what I did is basically I called root like this, and I got a response, which is a string. Also, you notice that every time I make a change, I need to reload, I need to stop the server and then start it again. So that's a bit of a drag. Mm-hmm. And that's why people normally install this package called nodemon. And nodemon, basically, it's like, like when you develop React, it's called hot reloading, where you make a change, you save it, and then it restarts the whole thing for you. It's like,
live reload.
Yeah, it's like live reload, exactly. So this is basically, nodemon is the package that allows live reload on, in Express. So we'll just add the little script here after we've installed it. People normally call it dev. And what you do is basically say, just like previously we used to say node index.js, but because we've installed nodemon to do hot reload, we'll just say nodemon index.js, same thing, and then we'll just say npm run dev,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one, npm run dev. Okay, no one. Oop, there you go. We got something like that. And now we can just try that it works. So, hello, awesome peeps. Okay, and there you go. You just saw that down there. It reloaded it. And if I just curl it back, okay, we got it.
Okay.
Cool.
In this case, the rec is the call to localhost /3000 asks Jimmy.
So localhost semicolon 3000. Yes. So rec is what you request, and that will be stored in the request part. We will have a look into it just like the next part.
Rec and response.
Yeah. It's short. You can really name rec and res anything you want. Some people call it in the full. They call it a request response, but rec res is kind of convention.
Oh, okay.
So,
how complicated is Node when compared to frontend JS or React?
They're kind of different. Yeah, it's like how different is backend from frontend. Well, you don't have to worry about CSS. That's
a big plus.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about SQL. So yeah, it's kind of, whatever. Pick your enemies, I guess. I mean, it's all right.
Great. I can't tell you how nice it is to see Michael in his comfort zone, i.e. not doing CSS.
Not doing CSS. Yes. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. I hated Internet Explorer and CSS so much that I went all the way to the back end. Yes.
Stayed there ever since. Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So now we have like some basic, but it would be nice to have some interactivity. So the next one we'll do is kind of explore, get, like I mentioned earlier, that you can also have app.post, right? And you can say app.delete, right? So you have many options. But anyway, we'll probably go for your favorite thing then, and that is
my favorite thing.
Yeah, cats. Your favorite thing. Yeah. So we'll go for cats. So every backend application normally what it does is like it receives some data, processes it, and then stores it, and then on request it returns you that data and so on. So think about like Airbnb. What it does, it basically holds listings inside of some database, and then when you go to the main page, it retrieves those lists from the database, shows it to you, and then you interact with that data. So kind of the core part of the backend is to store the data and then return it back. So that's kind of, we'll move to SQL. I hope we'll have enough time to do that, but we'll just start building from like smaller blocks, and then that will naturally translate into kind of easier concepts. So first of all, let's store the data in a variable.
So you're actually making a database of cats, just to be clear here.
Well, I'm not writing my own database engine. No, I'm just storing cats inside of a JavaScript object.
Oh, right, because there is a command called cat. So I thought there was something similar to that. No. Okay.
Oh, no, not concatenate. I mean actual meow
Right
cats.
now, we're writing some data about cats, if you're wondering.
That's right. Okay. That's right.
Now we've cleared that up. Right.
Yeah, so, and, well, to be fair, normally all the data is, like whenever you call an API, it returns you an array with objects.
Yeah.
So we'll return an array, and we'll say, well, a cat normally has a name of, let's go for our cat first.
Pumpkin.
Yes, we'll go for pumpkin, and then
wait.
I was going for something a bit more flattering, like age. We can go for his weight if you want, but and then like color, right?
Yep.
What was he? Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting this one. Tuxedo cat. There you go. I was like, what's like a black and white color? And I was like,
suit cat.
Yeah, I was like, dinner suit cat, zebra cat. The zebra cat doesn't. I mean, zebra cat is awesome, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so like we've got our little database variable with cats. So let's just say that what we want is we want to have an endpoint that when we call it, it returns us the cats, right? So let's just say we have cats, and as we learned before, we basically say request response, and then with that request response, what we need to do is we want to say response.status like 200, and we want to return the JSON file with cats. Right? So that's how you return the JSON from the GET request.
My Kalimba says it's not a database, it's a catabase.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll just create a very quick HTTP file. I normally create HTTP files with like raw HTTP requests for so instead of Postman, I use just HTTP REST client in VS Code. It's this extension, REST client, over here. So when you install it, what you can do then is you can just write GET request, and you can say localhost 3000 / well, let's try it, just localhost 3000, right? You can send request. I don't think we've got, do we have a server running? I think we do.
Really helpful error message there.
Yeah. Of course, I forgot HTTP. There we go. Okay, so, okay, we got hello awesome peeps. Then this extension allows you to create variables. So normally what I do is I just create a host variable, and then I say host, just to try this again. Okay, yeah, it worked. Then I separate another one, and I create another GET request, but this time host, and then this time let's call for cats, and there we go. We got our array of objects which have pumpkin in it.
Can you run through what line 5 does again?
So line 5 basically calls this API, and it goes down the route of cats. So I call GET request to cats.
All right, and then it puts it in HTTP 1.1.
Yeah, so that's the version of HTTP protocol, and this is the response, which is the response you get is basically this part response. So Express gives you this like variable response object that you can then say status, and you add JSON to it, and then it returns the whole thing. And this is what you see here. Okay, so we've got the cats. So now, what if we want to create cats? You know, like somebody came to us and said, "Oh, I love your cat application. Can I add my cats to it?" And we'll be like, "Of course you can."
That reminds me, Dave, what happened to your cat's social media? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
well, there you go. So when Dave will have to use post requests, and probably he'll say post cats.
Wow.
Post cats. I mean, anyway. So when you want to create something, you'll probably do that. And let me just close this. And when you post something, so you will need to what you're going to do, the way you're going to post that request. So let me just show you. You'll say post, right? And then you'll say to this address, cats, right? It'll be the same one because I've just written it here.
Yep.
Post to cats. So when I post to cats, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide it with an object, right? And I'm just going to say, for example, name, I don't know.
Laura Mipsum.
Albie.
That would be a good name for a cat.
Laura Mipsum. Age 4. No, it's not, sorry. Yeah, your parents got a cat, Albie. That's probably why I'm writing Albie.
Yeah, and he is 12.
And he's 12. Okay, cool. Well, subconsciously, see, I remember all the cats. And what's his color? What's he like?
Black.
Okay.
Good.
So I just write black. There we go. So for now, this doesn't really do anything. So when we send it, you will get a 404 not found because like you can't post the cats because we haven't finished this in any way.
Remember that, people. You can't post cats.
Yeah, you can't post cats. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this. Like, how do we process this post request? And the first thing you need to do is, I send you the request with this body. Yeah.
Yep.
So I need to access this body. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to say like object destruction. So name, age, and color. And I'm going to take it from request body. And as I mentioned, as I promised before, I can just say request body. So Express will load this object inside of this object, so I can access it here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will be request.body.name, request.body.age, request.body.color, right? But normally, let's just console log request.body and see what's up. So do we have that running? Yes, we do. So when I make this push request, it will give me an error. And when I have a look, it says cannot destructure property name request body as it is undefined. So request body is undefined for some reason. And the reason for that is because Express by default doesn't pass JSON. So by default, Express doesn't recognize this as JSON. So what you need to do is you basically need to say app.use. It's like, well, in backend it's called middleware, where you basically give it a function that will like do the config and do the magic of making things work in terms of request response. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say express.json, and when you watch backend tutorials, they'll just type this up, and they're not going to explain why. It's just kind of part of everyone's habit now. But basically what it does is this line allows Express to understand JSON inside of a body.
So you have to do a similar thing when you call an API in JavaScript, don't you?
Yeah. So I've done that. And then now when I probably need to supply a couple of headers. There we go. So I get empty bodies. But I think what I have forgotten is to provide a header, which is accept application JSON. I basically need to tell the API that that's what it is, and then the middleware. So content type application JSON. There we go. But basically what I'm saying to the server is that whatever I'm sending you is JSON, and I will want to receive JSON back. The current API doesn't really do anything with this header, but it's just good practice to do it. Okay, let's try again. Okay, there we go. So we just saw
LB has entered the building.
Yay. Too late.
This can be a bit touch and go.
Yeah.
Check out the questions. Oh.
Oof.
Ooh. Sounds like Dave's cat social media is in the making.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yes. Understanding things like request and response and how HTTP works can also clear up how the backend works. Yeah, exactly. Looking to CRUD, create, read, update, delete, and how databases work.
That's basically what we're doing.
Yes. We need to add Binky.
Okay. Well, Dave, don't forget to mention us how old Binky is, and what's the color.
I remember the first time Dave talked about Binky, he said that it was his car. And he was like, oh, Binky's looking forward to the stream, my car. I'm like, okay.
I thought it was a cat. Okay. It is a cat. Awesome.
Yes. Sometimes you don't realize how much you're already dealing with this in the front end. especially
Yeah.
for fetching data and manipulating the data in the DOM.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You're already dealing with it.
Can you mention the built-in HTTP library?
Ooh, I don't actually know what it's called, but it's the built-in in Express. The HTTP is built in, so you basically say get and you give the endpoint, and that will process the whole thing. I suppose that's what you meant, but if not, let me know. I'll try to answer that.
Okay, folks, let's continue.
Yeah.
How do
We can just close that.
we?
Yeah. So the next one would be, well, basically we have created an object. So what we're just going to do is, just pretty boring. We're just going to say const new cat equals name, age, and color, and then cats.push new cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then normally it's kind of good form to return a status code created to a 1 with data of that new cat. That's just a backend convention. Okay, and then we deleted the console log. So there we go. So our post request, it takes the body, creates the new cat, and it says confirms that I have created it for you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say post cat. Okay, we say 201 created, yeah, and then we're going to say we get all the cats again, and then we can see that Albie is now inside.
And there they are.
Yeah.
Yay.
So, and just for the fun of it, just to reinforce the stuff, let's delete, add the ability to delete cats.
No.
I know it's very hard to let go of them, but sometimes, sometimes people say, can you please share the cats? And yes, you can share the cats. You can share the joy of cats with everyone else. So I suppose in order to delete the cat, the request would be pretty straightforward, the same. So to delete with an HTTP verb, you just say delete, right? And it's pretty much the same. Whoops. Host, same endpoint, we've agreed. HTTP 1.1. But what I'm going to do with that is I'll kind of want to delete the cats by, I'll just say name in there. And I'll just say the cat I want to delete is, let's say I will want to remove Albie. Actually, I don't need that. I just need a string. Right. So now so do you remember what this kind of thing called in the params, in the URL?
Oh, UTMs.
Well, yeah. See, you can tell Anne is CEO optimizer. It's not a UTM. It's a query. Yeah, but it is used as a UTM. UTMs are used in queries. Yeah, that's right. But it's a query in URL query, the name for it. So basically, whatever after the question mark is kind of used as a key value pair.
Mm-hmm.
So you say this is a key, and then equals will be a value. And if you want to add more, you can say and age equals 4 and so on. But we'll just go with a simple one. So remove the cat with this name. Yeah, and that's what we're going to support, nothing else. So the way we're going to do that is we store it in our variable over there. Let me just probably just put this down and a little bit like that. So we've got a little bit more space. So I'll just say cats, or we'll say cats.filter. Yeah, we're just going to override. We're just going to filter out the cats. So the one that we are passing in the query, in the request, it will get removed. and albeit like, I don't know, maybe we can call it adopt endpoint, you know? So it's not as harsh as delete. But just to show HTTP verbs, it'll be delete. And there we have, basically we'll filter cats on cat, where cat name, as we saw here, name, property, and then doesn't equal request query dot name. So whatever we pass, like question mark, and we'll say name, this will become a property on the query object. So it will become a property on here. And that's how we can catch it.
Wait, what? So we're filtering the ones that don't match the name
Yes.
in the query.
Yes.
And then...
And we just overwrite the whole object. So basically we'll filter them out, and like basically as long as, you know,
as long as they don't have name Albie,
they will rename, they will be put back. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the response status for that is just 2 or 4. So we'll just confirm to the user like we've done the job, and that's it. Right. Cool.
So these are response statuses. Can you explain again what these are?
Yeah, so there are like, let's have a look. You can say HTTP response codes and so on. There are quite a lot of them, you know. Well, there are not that many.
Who does that? Like, literally, who makes a phone call?
But there you go. So it's like, you know, if you, OK status code is 200, created is 201, accepted 202, and so on. But it's like, when you have to confirm that something got created on a post, you return 201. And if there is, like, you confirm that you deleted something, you return 204, and so on. And normally, I would just say, you know, if you're really geeky about it,
which Michael is,
which I am, you'll go and have a read through this hypertext transfer HTTP RFC, which is like a standard for HTTP, and it in here. You
read this?
I have actually, not in full, but I have read a lot of it. Yes.
Wow. He's great at dinner parties.
I don't go to any, so that's my secret. And there is just a couple of pages actually about different verbs, and then about different status codes and when they're meant to be like.
Wow.
I know. It's only a couple of paragraphs, like, you see, and it basically tells you how to use it properly. So I would highly recommend, like, I actually have this bookmarked.
Someone is calling to add the cat to the API. It is Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Jen said, what was that noise? Well, indeed, what was it? Make sure you added cats before the next server restart.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Michael Imber.
Yeah. So that's kind of, well, I love how our viewers will jump ahead. But yeah, just because let's show that we can actually remove the cat. There you go, no content. And then when we, pumpkin. No, we've created Albie again. Let's have a look. Here is Albie. And when I say we have removed Albie, and there you go, he's no longer there. But as Michael Imber pointed out, because we store cats in a variable, every time you restart the server, it's just pumpkin in here. So there is no way to like keep this data.
Oh.
Every time this restarts, this variable gets created from the start.
Okay.
So like if all of a sudden, you know, your data center, you know, like it turned off your application and then it started back on, your data is not saved. So that's why people, well, to be fair, people created SQL for a different reason. But anyway, that's why you use SQL. You kind of like, if you want to persist data, you don't store it inside of your app, like in a variable. If you want to persist data, you save it to SQL database and you keep it there. So I think, I mean, we've got 9 minutes left, and that's probably not enough to cover the SQL part.
The whole of the sequel.
Well,
I reckon we can do it.
We can run a little bit late, I suppose, but oh well. Let's see how far we get on, probably.
They've left a voicemail now.
Have they? Oh, wow.
Oh, honestly.
I mean, oh well, anyway. You
Why
should,
not just send a fax?
you should say, like, call this API.
Come to our stream and send a chat message, and then you might get an answer.
Oh, no, that's dangerous. Don't put ideas.
Yeah, I don't really want. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So what we're going to have is then basically I've mentioned that we have the Postgre database. Let's have a look at that. Where did I? Oh, never mind. I'll just go in here. Here we go.
Why are you opening my photo? Well, that could have been dangerous.
I don't know.
Luckily, they're all photos of pumpkin.
How do you close that thing again? This tab, Docker.
Oh boy, this really is.
Yeah, the doc.
The was.
Yeah. Ah, I see. Cool. Nice. So I'm just gonna zoom in. So we at the beginning of the stream, I've showed that we've got Postgres installed. Postgres is a type of SQL server. So, and then what I can do is just to check that we've got. We can also log into it. I'll just say Postgres. You can in that repository that I showed earlier, that I've shown the links, how to download stuff. You can install it on your local machine. And the following steps are just like specific to Postgres. And if you want to use something of yours, you can do it. But these are just like the steps that you would do to double check your connection if you're using Postgres. So psql Postgres, there you go. It gives you this like
type help for help.
yeah, type help for help, and it gives you this Postgres prompt. So this is like you have connected to your database on the machine. So it's running on Leanne's laptop. And we have connected to it. And then I can just type con info, and that will just tell you like, you're connected to database Postgres as user Leanne via socket, and then it gives you a port. So there you go. Like if you're working with Postgres and you create a Node application and you're asking what port can you do, don't make it 5432 because that's your database.
Yikes.
Yeah, so.
Okay, if you take nothing else away from this stream,
yeah,
that sounds important.
Yeah, that sounds important. Anyway, and then it's like with Vim, if you want to quit, it's /q. Yeah, or it's :q in Vim. Anyway, it's always something q. So let's then create some tables. In the repository that I've shared, I have given SQL how to create tables, but just to show how to do it from scratch manually. Normally you would automate it into a script and stuff, but how to do it manually, slowly, we'll walk through it step by step. But normally you would write a script that does the whole thing in a second. Or like migration script or a Docker container or something. Anyway, let's now create a server. I'm using pgadmin, and pgadmin is just like a GUI app to work with your database on your local machine.
So it's like GitHub Desktop.
Yeah, it's like GitHub Desktop, but for SQL.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can say that GitHub Desktop is like pgadmin, but for Git.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll just call it Node API, and then here I'll say connection. It will be on localhost, port 5432. Yeah. Maintenance database. Don't change this. And user. Over here we saw that user is Leanne. So obviously on your machine, it probably will not be Leanne. It will be something else. But that's why I have typed con info, so you can see what, database.
What your name is.
Yeah, what your name is. Yeah. So Postgres, and then Leanne here, and then port 5432. So you can basically double check what details you are going to put into this. Okay. And there will be no password or anything because it's just default database. Let's just say save. Here you go. And it got connected.
Wow.
In here, in here you have databases, and we'll just create, instead of schemas, over here, and you'll see tables, I hope. Okay, that's probably big enough. We'll create a table. There you go, let's create a table. And we'll create a table called cats. Okay, you'll be the owner, and then you type on columns, and then let's create some columns. So the first one is, as customary, it's ID. Yeah, and it will be, normally we can do it big int or int. Normally, well, I mean, this app is not going to live long. It'll be int, right?
Oh, you say that now.
Well, yeah, true. It can be null. It'll be a primary key. Like, kind of, if you want to, I'm going to skim over a lot of different concepts of the database because it's a whole separate thing. Like, what's a primary key, what's a foreign key, and so on. But just kind of like, slog through this one for a little bit. And I'm just going to define a constraint here that's identity. So basically, every time we create a new cat, it will receive a new ID sequentially. Yeah, so we don't have to give it an ID. It'll just be created automatically by the database. That's basically what I'm doing.
Yep.
I'm saying, and primary key basically means that the cat ID will be unique.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and then
it'll be a bit useless otherwise.
Well, yeah. It will, yeah. Anyway, so I've created ID. I've left that, but I shouldn't have. Anyway, so let's create name. Name will be text. Let's just say it won't be null. Then let's create another column. What was that? Age, right? Integer. And then that will be not null as well. And then also we have a color. That'll be a text as well, right? Because, like, yeah, why not? And let's just make all of these not null. Like, you have to input these into the database, or otherwise it will give you an error. It will say, oh, you can't do this. Okay, so let's just save that. And let's try this with not properties, sorry. Let's just scripts and say insert. Or you can actually just, I think if you say view all rows like this, in pgadmin, you can actually do like, you can actually type into your database. So you don't have to write SQL script or anything. You can actually type into it. So, so we'll add pumpkin there. Oops. So pumpkin for Tito. Okay, and then there we go. There's the save button. There we go, saved. And you see that I didn't put ID 1 here. It just created it on its own. So there you go. Pumpkin is inside of the database.
But that's not the same pumpkin that we entered earlier, is it?
No, it's not. It's a different pumpkin. So what we're going to do is...
It's going to get a bit confusing, right?
Well, it won't be confusing because what we're going to do next is basically we can't store cats in a variable. So what we want to do is we want to connect to our database and get the cats from the database. Okay? So to do that, to connect to the database, you need to create a connection to the database. So we have database running on a local machine. Now we need to connect to it from our Node application. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pool, connection pool, it's called. So this will be require pg.pool. And then we'll just say const. This kind of, again, the way it's like capitalized and so on is just a convention, right? You can name these whatever you want. It's just a convention of how people call it. So then you create a pool from the object, and you pass the connection parameters. So you say your user, which is Leanne, your host. Your host will be your local host. And then you have your database, which is Postgres. Oops, sorry, forgot to close. Yeah, there we go, Postgres. And then it will be on the port 5432. Okay.
Which is the port that we saw is your database.
Yeah. Like we have put these inside of pgadmin. Now we're just writing it inside of our code. Okay. So now what you need to do is we basically need to update our endpoints. So we have deleted the cat variable. Now we just want to, now we can connect to the database. And what we want to do is we can want to grab the data from the database and return to the user. So this app.get, we say return JSON cats, but we need to get that JSON cats first, right?
Yep.
So what we want to do is, let's just do that. And so we need to query the database to get the cats from there, right?
Yep.
So what we can do is pull.query. That's kind of how you write queries inside of the database. So basically this variable that we have here, pull, it'll give you connections. And here you can write your query into the thing. But I'll write raw SQL. But then there are things that I call ORMs, like object relational mappers. They basically kind of make your connection a little bit easier so you don't have to write SQL inside of a string in the app. You will be like writing JavaScript and it will translate JavaScript into SQL and grab the data for you. But for our simple application, let's just stick to straightforward SQL, select everything from table called cats that we have created earlier.
So that star means everything.
Yeah, the star means everything. And we'll just select from our table cats. So it's like, it will know that you mean table when you go like this, from cats. It knows it.
Handy.
Yeah. And then the way this query works is that you can see that it says query. You give a string as a query, and then it gives the values. So what are these values? You can say the first one will be error, with not console. The first one is error, and the second one is result. And then that basically gives you, you basically need to grab the stuff. So we'll say that if we get an error, no, not console. If we get an error, I'll just console log it because I want to see if it happened or not.
Yep.
Actually, well, yeah, now it will be console error. I'll just write something like,
Let's see.
while getting cats, I got this. I got scratched. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I got this error. There you go.
Well.
And then we'll return the cats.
Let's see what's going on in the chat. Where are you getting PG from? Asks Dave.
So PG we have installed at the beginning of the stream with Express, and then you just import it at the very beginning. So
PG being Postgres.
PG being on line 6, that's PG. PG is like a packaged deal to work with database connections.
So not Postgres.
I think it stands for Postgres. I think it's a Postgres-specific library, but don't hold me to it because I don't actually.
Basically.
Well, it's basically a package to deal with database connections.
We installed it in the front.
Yes, we installed it at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Can you follow this up with a session on using non-relational or document-based database options? I'm looking at you, MongoDB.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't make that much difference in terms of like when you write the app. It does have difference in terms of like long-term life of your app. We should probably just make a whole separate stream
on the
database and dive into them there. Yeah.
It's Stevie Wonder calling to say I love you. I'll find out when I listen to the voice message. If I do. Anyway, so yes, we have now logged our error if we get one.
Yeah, and then what we're going to do...
Hopefully we won't because it will work.
Yeah, hopefully it will because it will work. And then the second one here in the callback, it was result. So we want to return... If there is no error, then we want to basically return the result, right? I think it's result.rows. Okay.
And rows are like name, age, and
That's right.
basically
Yeah.
all the things you've added.
So now let's call this get cats again. Oop. The mouse doesn't work. Oh no, the mouse doesn't work.
Is it this again?
Yes, it is.
Crikey.
Okay. Hey, and there we go. We also now, well, you can kind of tell that it's from the database because you got ID over here.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have connected the Postgres. So now let's, obviously, when we post, we also want to save the cats in the database. So for that, we'll use insert statement. So similarly, we won't change this line. Whoops. We won't change this line because we need those properties. So what we need, we'll write a pull build query as we already used before. And we'll write an insert query. And what you do here is you basically say insert into cat. And then I'll just say name, age, and color. Right? And then you say which values. And they will be like variables. So first variable, second variable, and third variable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'll just do that for now. And the third variable. And then the next one is obviously the values. So there we go. Here's name, age, and color. Okay. So they must match in the same order, or it won't work. Okay. And then the next one, we already know. We already done something like that. So it basically will become like if error and so on, right? So it'll be error and result. So this is what database returns to us. Like that. Whoops. Okay, here's the thing. And then we will just copy the error thing, but it's instead of while creating cats, I got this error. I don't need this new cat or a push. So there you go. I'll just move this line over here. And then we have new cat, but we know that we can get new cat from the result. Result, and presumably result.rows, right? So it should be very similar. Or like the first one. But this, strangely, won't actually give us anything. So when we create an LB, it just says created, and it hasn't got us anything. And the reason for that is when you're inserting things in SQL, by default, it inserts it silently. So it just does it, and that's it.
Right.
So what you need to do is, if you want the row that it has been created, if you want it to be returned, you need to say returning keyword, and you say everything as in like all the columns that you have created, all the data, the whole row, return me the whole thing.
And that will actually show it.
And that will return you the whole thing. So we'll say Binky. I don't know Binky, so
I think Binky might be brown, but I don't know why I think that.
Binky might be brown. I think he might be 5.
I think Binky might be a she, but no.
Maybe she. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not specified here.
Here
we go. Binky.
But you notice that it's 3 because the previous was LB, but it was silent. Anyway.
All right.
But now, when we grab all of the cats again, it's here.
Binky has been added to our database.
Yes.
How amazing is that? Jimmy Tan asks, $1, $2, etc. means you're mapping values into the first and second columns.
That's right. Yes.
Of our database.
Yes. So like in pgadmin, that's right.
Yeah.
So $1, no,
Yeah.
$1 is name, $2 is age, $0 is ID. But I don't want $0 because ID is auto-created.
Yes. Binky is brown, a she, and possibly 12.
Oh no, I didn't. Well, there you go then. 1 point for you and 0 for me.
Any chance of putting all this code in a repo?
It is,
Tom.
yes. I shared it at the very beginning of the stream, but
Yeah.
Dan is going to repost it once again.
Wow, that is forward thinking.
Yes.
There we go. You
That's the
can
one.
check out the code from today's stream
And it
in
has
this repo.
Yeah, it has full code, and the README has like breakdown. You basically follow the stream as we've been doing it.
Very handy.
Yeah.
Aaron Kern says this. Yay. I would definitely tune in for an SQL versus non-SQL database lesson. Ooh. I
Sure.
would tune in just for SQL.
Sure.
Yes. Wow. Brilliant. I think we have run out of time now. That was wonderful, Michael.
And the
Thank
homework for you will
this.
be to implement delete endpoint, because it still uses the variable in the stream, but you should know how to, Google how to write the delete SQL query, and after that you should be able to complete the whole thing.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
We will be back. There is something before that. Don't know what it is though. Anyway, we will be back next Friday.
Suffering with CSS.
Yes, with more CSS from Kevin's homepage for his new course on Scrimba. And if you would like to do a challenge about making this button in the meantime, you can check out this link. And we already have some amazing buttons which have been sent in. Here they are. Yeah, cool. And I'll be checking those out later on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, don't forget to, if you enjoy this, don't forget to like and subscribe, because YouTube apparently makes us say that.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Okay, well, have a lovely Halloween weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween weekend. I'm looking for a suitable noise.
The cackling witch?
This one.
Not cackling witch. Wow, these sounds are really long.
Yeah, that would have been better.
There you go.
Yes. Make sure you carve pumpkins or do whatever you do. Scare your relatives. Yes.
Yeah.
Epic. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for sharing. And I have thumbs up. Woo. Thanks for this, guys. Perfect timing. I've sent you the link to Binky's blog on Twitter. Oh, I'll look out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Binky has a blog. That's amazing. Binky even has Pumpkin has a repository that he's working on. But...
Woo, ghosts. Yes. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next week on Scrimba's YouTube channel.